Welcome to Small Business Saturdays video series with your host and my husband.
And my dad, Aaron Montgomery.
Join the conversation.
Let's talk some business.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome into Small Business Saturdays. My name is Aaron Montgomery, and you can find me at oursuccessgroup.com. So excited to be bringing this bit of information to you this morning. We're going to be talking about the 5 characteristics that we need to cultivate if we want to achieve the idea of success that is in our brains there. So excited to be back here in the kind of public forum, but we're excited to see how this all goes here this morning. I know some people might be trying to watch from LinkedIn. So if you are trying to watch from LinkedIn and you can actually see this, please let me know, because I got a notice that some people were having some problems with it. But so maybe it's working, maybe it's not. But anyways, let's get into it here. We are all capable of the success that we desire. I truly, truly believe that. And we all have it in us. But we are not all willing to cultivate the traits and the characteristics that we need to gain success. So we have to find the right mindset. We have to do the work, and we have to own who you are. And that's not natural. And in fact, that's not even something that's taught in school or a lot of times by our parents or things like that. That is something that we have to cultivate ourselves. You know, school is meant to follow others and do things like that. Even our parents, you know, I know as a parent, I've said many times when I get the inevitable why question, because I said so, right? And that's okay as a parent. You know, you kind of got to give them a little bit of that. Got to find that balance of respect and whatnot. But as we get older, as we get into our business lives, we have to cultivate and have to be responsible for our own actions and doing all that. So one of the best ways that I have found to achieve things and kind of develop this mindset that we need is through a process of asking questions. We need to ask ourselves as many questions as we can and then work on answering those questions honestly. So once we're able to then start answering those questions, the next important part of the puzzle process is we have to start taking actions, and those actions will need to be there, because that's how we set in that new mindset. If you don't take action on it, it just becomes what I call shelf help. It's all that information that you get that just gathers in the back of your brain, and it's collecting dust on that shelf of information that you have. And so it's only useful until you start taking action on it, until you start implementing it. And, so we need that action to get that mindset in place. And then that action also helps us stay determined to be what we were made to be. Now, before we get into that, though, I wanted to welcome everybody back and new and whatnot. So good morning to Wade and Chuck. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully, there'll be plenty of good nuggets for you this morning. In fact, I know there will be, because all this stuff has been really helpful and useful for me to develop and build the characteristics that I want for success. So looking forward to it. I also want to just let everyone know, yes, LinkedIn, I know that you're having problems. I keep getting this message that pops up over here. So for 2022, I know we're not quite there yet, but we still we have about a month. We moved SBS back into the public because we've added other benefits for our memberships, the Club OSG, and also the OSG Squad memberships. Yes, LinkedIn, stop. Okay. So anyhow, I wanted to just share a quick video with you guys talking about that particular process, and let me share that right now. All right. So there is some quick details about what's happening new in 2022. We actually did a full video talking about all of these things and then also launching our year-end sale. So you can go check that out at, if you want to watch the video, you can check that out at osg.link/sale. And, or if you want to just see the details, you can also go to, uh, in fact, let me put the banners up here. You can also go to, where are you, little banners? There we go. You can also go over to oursuccessgroup.com/sale. You'll see that streaming across the bottom there. And also, again, here's that link if you want to watch the video to learn a little bit more about what's happening new in our success group for 2022. And then anybody that's tuned in here live right now, uh, if I could get somebody to be a quick part-time producer for me, I don't know, Kylene, if you're listening or not, but somebody could go over to my LinkedIn profile and on the information about this broadcast, maybe just put a comment to check us out over on Facebook or at liveosg.com. Because, yeah, I keep getting this notification that it's not showing on LinkedIn. So fun times this morning with some technology, but that's always part of the fun here of a live video. So, all right, guys. Well, let's get into this. Let's talk about these personality traits, and let me turn off that for you right there. So let's talk about this. I have these 5 personality traits or characteristics that I believe we must implement and cultivate to get to that success that we desire, and also to make it easier to achieve that success. So my plan here for the next little bit, probably 20, 30, maybe 40 minutes or so here, is to share those characteristics and talk about them briefly. And then I want to give you some seeds to the questions that you can be asking yourself. And then finally, an example of an action that you can take to start implementing those characteristics or traits. Now, for you, use those questions as just a starting point, right? You're going to have to come up with your own questions or kind of develop and build on the ones that I share with you. And then also the actions, come up with the actions that work for you. Again, these are examples and some great things and tools that I've been using and working on implementing myself. But your actions need to be right for you. So the whole process here is, okay, let's understand what it is. Then let's ask ourselves questions to figure out where we're at and what we need to work on, and ask as many questions as we can, because it really is about finding the right question to ask. And then whatever the answer is to that question, that's going to be the real key. But then to set that into play and to start making that and implementing that as something that you're developing in your life, in your business, in your world, is to then take an action on it. And it doesn't have to be, change the world action. It can be, let's do one little small thing. And you're going to see as we go through this, that's really the key, is by taking just a small action, making a daily improvement, you're going to make a huge difference in everything in your world. So let's get into that. And let's see, got one more comment to check. Oh, thank you, Kylene. Says, got it. Appreciate that. All right. Side producer. I'll have to, well, she always helps me out anyway. So, all right. Well, let's go to, let me get back to the right place over here. Okay. So, number 1, we need to make our challenges. We need to make your challenges your victories. So, make your challenges your victories. All of those stresses, all of those hardships, all of the other challenges that you've faced were really just opportunities to grow. It's kind of like working out, right? If anybody's familiar with the process of working out, the whole point of lifting weights or exerting ourselves is that you have to kind of strain and slightly tear some muscles, which then allows them to repair themselves. And when they repair themselves, they grow back stronger, and we get bigger muscles, and we get stronger, and we can run further, and we can do more. And so that's the same thing with the emotional challenges that we've faced along this path of our lives. Those are just like working out. And if we can look at them like that, if we can look at them as opportunities to grow and become better, and that tear and then build back to something stronger and even more fruitful in your life, then it's become the success that we desire. So that's the idea. Let me give you a couple example questions and some ones that I would start with here. First is, why am I currently not at the level of success I want? What is it, right? Why am I not? And it seems like an odd question to ask yourself, but when you start pondering those things, you start looking back. Yeah, we have to look back and find out what we've instilled in ourselves, and so that leads us to the next question: is how have I been holding myself back, right? And then that leads us into the next question, which is, what beliefs have I created due to past experiences that might not be true, right? So, and then lastly, the last question that I have for you, again, these are just example questions to get you started. How has a challenge or adversity possibly given me an advantage? Right. And so that's, if you kind of see the arc of that, why am I not at the level of success? And then what's been holding me back? So why am I not? Starting to identify the blocks. And then how have I been holding myself back? What are those blocks telling me, right? And then what beliefs have I created because of past experiences that might not be true? And then finally, if I go, okay, so maybe that belief is not true. So what could that have, circumstance, challenge, issue, thing, have actually done to make me a better version of myself? All right. So how has a challenge or adversity possibly given me an advantage? All right. So there's 4 potential questions for you. And then once you start answering those questions and I start feeling like you're making some progress there, then the next step is to take that action. And to me, a great example of an action here is write out how you have grown due to an adversity. And then as part of that writing, own that growth as a new superpower. So, for example, you want to describe your future you, the person that you're going to be in 3 months, 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years, wherever you want to start looking ahead to, and describe that future you as that superhero. And then here's the bonus action. If you really want to grow, share that story with someone you trust, right? It could be a partner, a spouse, friend, family member, somebody that you trust that will just listen to you, excuse me, that will just listen to you and let you share that story without judgment. All right. So that's the action. And then, as a, not really a bonus action, but just something I wanted to share with you all, is we actually have at our success group an in-depth process to break down these blocks and unlock your potential. That's the name of the workshop that we do as a workshop each and every month. Our next workshop is coming up on December 10th. And if you want to check that out, you can do so here at this link, oursuccessgroup.com/unlock. Again, next one's coming up on the 10th of December, which is next Friday. And I believe it's at 1 Central Time. I could be slightly off on that. But so, like I said, we do it every month and we try to change the days and times. So that way there's always an available slot for somebody regardless of what your schedule is. So if you want to check that out, it's oursuccessgroup.com/unlock. And it's a 60-minute workshop where we dive into this stuff. We really work hard on answering a lot of these questions that I shared with you and give you a great tool that not only will we walk you through, but then you're able to take that tool after the workshop and work on anything you want, anytime you want. So it's pretty cool. And it's something that's been very powerful for myself and for my wife, who helps me put on the workshop and is actually a big part of the workshop. So check that out, oursuccessgroup.com/unlock. All right. So with that being said, let's get back to the banner here. Let's get into the second trait that we want to cultivate. We need to find your why, your purpose, your mission, whatever you want to call it. And you guys have, if you've been following me at all for any length of time, you probably heard me talk about this a ton. But I believe this is one of the most important things that we can do for ourselves. This is one of the most important traits that we can develop, because once we develop this, once we find that purpose, once we find that why, we can live it, we can talk about it, we can attract things to us that help us live in that greatness zone. That's another way to call it. What is your greatness zone? So once you can start pursuing things that then live in alignment with that why, and why you're here, right? What you were made to do. And every single person has something that we were made to do. It's all different, and it's all different levels of things. And each and every one of those things that we were meant to do is as important as the next person's, because if we're all able to live in that greatness zone, then just think how the world would be if everybody was living in their greatness zone. They were happy, they were um, giving back to the community, their strength, their superpower. Just imagine what that world would look like. So if we could all work on finding our own why, that's the first step, right? You want to change the world, change your own world, change your internal world first, and by living in alignment with that purpose. So that's where we want to start, and that'll start opening up this world you never knew existed, and I'm a great example of this. Until I was able to start OSG with Todd, until we started making this, and honestly, until I just made the leap to go full time in this, and didn't have any other safety net underneath me. um, I had definitely had plenty going for me. Great jobs, great careers, great learning experiences. Um, been so blessed to be part of this community for so long. Going into my 22nd year here in this community of decorators, of garment and personalized product decorators. And but looking back, I never felt truly successful. I never felt like I was living in my greatness zone, you know. And so by discovering my mission, which is to provide actionable resources that empower business owners to achieve their idea of success, whenever I'm doing something that relates to that mission, I feel successful. And money, status, none of that stuff matters at all. It all has to do with the success comes from that feeling of living inside of that mission, being able to participate and support and uh, collaborate and bring people together. All of those things that brings that feeling of success up for me. The money is great, right? It's a nice way to say, yep, that's a good measuring stick. Okay, I am doing it right. I am providing value. In our world today, money is equated with value, right? But that stuff is not nearly as important as that feeling of being inside of your greatness zone. And I believe that ultimately, once you live in that enough, all of those things that you desire will start coming true for you, will start showing up for you. And so to be able to find our why, there's lots of questions. I've put out white papers and things like that you can find. If anybody wants that, just reach out to me, success@oursuccessgroup.com. And I'm happy to share it with you. You can probably find it in different resources. I know we share it a lot of times when you sign up for different things as just a bonus. So there's lots of questions in there, but some of those questions are things like, what do I love to do so much that I lose all track of time doing? Right. And most likely that's your greatness zone, by the way, just FYI. Um, and then what do others tell me that I'm good at? Oh man, I can't believe, wow, how do you do that? And you go, oh, that's just easy. That's just second nature to me. And they go, no, I can't do that. Right. So that's probably also something that is your greatness zone. And then next question is, what would you like your obituary to say about you? How would you like that to read? It, yeah, in a perfect world, you were able to achieve everything that you wanted, do everything that you wanted to do for yourself and those around you. What would people say about you? And then another question is, what do you want? Sorry, excuse me. What difference do you want to make deep down in your soul? I believe that when we really feel successful, it's actually in the service to others, and that is kind of what binds us as humans, is that ability to be in service to complete strangers. To rising tide lifts all boats kind of idea, right? So what difference do you want to make deep down in your soul is the last question example that I have for you. And then the action, it goes back to that third question I had for you. I want you to write your obituary as you would like to be remembered, right? I know it seems a little bit morbid, but that's part of life. We're all going to pass at some point. And so why don't you design your own obituary, right? And then if you can do that and write that, then you can start plugging in the things that you need to do to get there. All right. So that is number 2. And let's move on to number 3 here. Okay. There we go. We need to detect your fuel source. So we need to have fuel to push us through the roadblocks that you're inevitably going to encounter. It's just part of life. It's part of being a business owner. It's part of every day. There's always some challenge. It's not always showing up as this massive, huge, crazy challenge, but it is some challenge that is potentially going to show up every day. And when that challenge shows up, that roadblock shows up, what is your fuel? What's going to drive you to say, yep, this is worth encountering, going over, around, through, under, whatever, versus saying, okay, I'm done. I'm going to go sit and watch Netflix now, right? We need to find some fuel. And not saying that you don't need to recharge every once in a while and sit down and watch Netflix. But what I'm saying is when you're faced with a challenge, how do you react? How do you respond to that? And you know, use that going and sitting down and recharging and watching Netflix as a reward for overcoming a challenge, as opposed to an excuse for not facing that challenge head on. So, for example, Thomas Edison was motivated to invent all of the things that he invented because as a young man or as a boy, he was told he would never amount to anything. He didn't have the education or the status that other people in his world at the time had, and so he was always told he would never amount to anything. And he said that's what drove him to, you know, do things like invent the light bulb to an extent that he failed 10,000 times first. It is how it goes, right? So there's an example. Another example would be Michael Jordan. He's a very famous basketball player, if you're not familiar. But he was actually cut from his high school basketball team. And that fueled him to become one of the most fierce competitors on the basketball court. And that fierce competitiveness led him to become what many would argue is the greatest basketball player of all times. There's certainly arguments to be made for some of the other basketball players out there, so I'm not here to get into that with you. But a lot of people would say he was the greatest basketball player of all times. And that fuel was him getting cut from his high school basketball team. And he used that fuel to become probably one of the most competitive people in the world, according to his teammates and other people that he played against and things like that. So, in fact, here's a quote from Michael that I think is really fitting here. He says, "Some want it to happen. Some wish it would happen. Others make it happen." And he used that fuel of being cut from his high school basketball team to make it happen. I mean, he was not the most physically gifted guy out there, right? And he still became one of the greatest basketball players of all time. So we need to detect our fuel source, and some questions that we can ask ourselves to find that, to develop that characteristic, is thinking about what past experiences can you turn into fuel. So what can you turn into fuel from your past would be a question to ask. Another question to ask would be, what passions get you excited to chase, right? Not only did Michael Jordan have that fuel of being cut from his basketball team, but he had enough passion for the game of basketball that then he went to work to make sure that he was never cut again and that he would become the greatest basketball player of all times, right? And then the next question that you could potentially ask yourself, what failures do you never want to experience again, right? And if you think about things in your past, some failures, some things that just didn't go your way, that left a horrible taste in your mouth that you would like to never experience again, that could be your fuel, right? So there's 3 example questions. And then the action item here is, I want you to create a list of 3 goals you want to achieve by the end of 2022. And then write out the fuel you will use to achieve those goals. And why are those goals important to you, and why does that fuel drive you to achieve those goals? All right, so there's a possible action item that you could take right there. All right, let's get to number 4 here. Number 4 is about develop strong feelings. We need to develop those strong feelings inside of ourselves. We have to stop with that built-in characteristic that was instilled in us from childhood. It was kind of pushed on us since we were kids of being people pleasers. And this is not saying that that's a negative thing, right? I mean, we need to find that balance between respect and working together and synergies. But what ends up happening is we go too far with it and we become people pleasers. Now, most people think that being a people pleaser is somehow being nice, but I believe it's actually the opposite. I would argue that being a people pleaser is actually selfish, because you're taking the easy way out by trying to be all things to everybody. It's hard to say no, right? But you have to take 100% responsibility for your results. So you need to learn to say no. And actually, we're going to talk about that on next week's SBS. So hopefully you'll tune in for that. If saying no is hard for you, I know it's hard for me. So that's why I want to talk about it, because every time I talk about something, it helps me get better at it too, right? So we need to stop saying we're sorry when we didn't really make a mistake of worthy of being truly sorry, right? Because then your sorries become less important, less valuable to the people that around you, right? And I'm guilty of that. Oh, sorry about that. Oh, sorry about that. Right? We've got to get rid of that. We need to stop making excuses. We need to stop complaining. We need to stop commiserating, and we need to start looking in the mirror and finding the answers inside of ourselves. We need to develop that strong feeling. We need to get mad a little bit, right? We need to kind of go, darn it, I deserve more than this. I'm going to do something about it, right? And the only way to do something about it is, again, to look into the mirror and find those answers inside of yourself. So here's some questions that you can ask yourself to maybe help you develop those strong feelings. What are the things that make you mad that you end up bottling up inside and wish you would do something about? What has been eating at you, or what things are you bottling up that you need to just, I need to take an action on that, right? I need to actually finally say something. I need to stand up for myself. I need to take an action. I need to be more, right? So there's some of that. Next question could be, what have you said either to yourself or to others that you would do but didn't follow through on, right? Did you keep your agreements? Did you follow through on your commitments? Did you possibly just in passing commit to something that you weren't even really paying attention to, and then forgot all about it 5 seconds later, because the person on the other side probably didn't forget about it? And that is going to devalue you to yourself and to others, which will then reduce the strong feelings you have about getting towards your idea of success. And then another question you can ask yourself is, what messes and incompletes do you have in your life or your business that you need to stop allowing to take up space in our brain, or to take up that energy? Every time you walk by that pile of junk, it just saps your energy, because you're going, I've got to do that, right? So that could be another question to ask yourself, to start developing strong, passionate feelings about the success that you want to have. And then the action item, the potential action item there, is to create a complete list of messes and incompletes, and then commit to completing at least one small thing off of that list. Maybe it's you've got a big project on the list that you need to break down into smaller bite-sized chunks on that messes and incomplete list. But whatever the one small task that you can do, and maybe commit to doing that once a month. It doesn't have to be massive. Now, better yet, if you really want to get some things moving in your life, start clearing off those messes and incompletes once a week. Again, one small task once a week, and start clearing off that list until your mess and incomplete list is actually just small, right? It's just a new little thing popped up. I put it on there. I clear it off. It's not this massive, daunting list for you. All right. And then the fifth characteristic that we need to cultivate for success is confirm successes for you by taking daily actions. And we've been talking about actions to take already, but it's all about taking the daily actions. And again, I believe that every person deserves the success they desire as long as they are willing to do the work to develop their daily characteristics that are inside of each of us. We just have to develop them. We have to do the work to get there. So you have to strive, you have to push for more and not just settle based on those incremental wins. Yes, you must celebrate every victory. Uh, we need that, right? That's just internal. It's human nature. We need to celebrate those victories. But what we need to do with those victory celebrations is not use that as a, okay, I got that one, and let our foot off the gas, so to speak. We need to use that celebration as a source of more energy to do even more. As a, yes, I did it. Cool. Now I can do more. Boom. I'm moving forward. I'm doing all that. So we need to stack those victories on top of each other. And you can only stack victories on top of each other by taking daily actions. A quote from an author of the book Take the Stairs and Procrastinate on Purpose. He wrote both of those books. It's in my suggested reading list, which is on the resource section of our website at oursuccessgroup.com. His name's Rory Vaden, and he has a quote in there that always sticks to me, and it always pops up in my brain when I'm sitting there going, okay, I need to take a little breather here, and I need to, I'm going to let my foot off the gas for a second. And he says, success is rented, not owned, and the rent is due every day. Right. Wow, that sounds like a lot, but in reality, that rent is due every day, but that just means we just need to take one small daily action to get us closer to our goals. So some questions that you can ask yourself to help build this confirmation of success and build this daily action is, first and foremost, how committed am I to achieving the success I desire? Like, am I really committed, or am I just giving it lip service? Right? Have I made the sacrifices? Have I taken the actions? How committed am I? And then second, what actions have I not taken that I know I need to take, but I'm putting off because I'm not committed enough to it, right? So what actions have I not taken that I need to take? And then another example of a questionnaire, what principles, I'm going to use that in quotations, what principles have I developed that are standing in the way of achieving the next level, right? Oh, that's just who I am. Well, does it have to be? Could you change? Could it be different? A lot of times what's keeping us from the success we desire are these things that these are just principles. This is something that it's just who I am. Half the time that's just not true. I mean, we're like what we wear and how we present ourselves, and the language we use, the people we hang out with, those all can change, right? And that doesn't make us fake or phony. If it's getting you to your idea of success, that's actually being more true to yourself than holding on to this is just the way I am and this is who I want to be, right? So what principles have you developed that are standing in the way of achieving your next level? And again, one last time, I'm not saying you shouldn't have principles. That's actually a valuable characteristic, is to have things that you stand for that are important to you. But you always have to evaluate those things and understand, are they really serving me? Is it really truly what my principle is? Or is it just the surface vanity part of it that I'm holding on to because I'm too afraid to change or do more, right? So that would be another question to answer. And then the action that I would suggest is to take or commit to taking an action and make that action, what you're going to do, make it public. Right? Post it on our Facebook page at facebook.com/our success group pro. And if you'll post it over there, I will actually go in and help you make it a specific goal through my success principles training. We've got all that broken down into very easy steps. And if you can make it an actual specific goal, it will be so much more powerful for you. And then once you have that specific goal, then you can also then break that down into, what are the daily actions that I need to take? And I'm certainly happy to help you with that. I'll break it down into the daily actions. And then the next part is, have an affirmation that you can say to yourself in your brain every morning, every night before you go to bed, that is the affirmation of you achieving that goal. And again, if you'll post it on our Facebook page, facebook.com/our success group pro, we will help you make that goal in daily action and affirmation. So that's what I have for you. Let's go real quickly right back through those 5 characteristics. We need to make our challenges our victories. And what things happened to us that seemed really bad at the time and probably were, but actually gave us this new superpower, this ability to grow and overcome. We faced it and we survived. Then we need to make sure that we found our why, our purpose, our mission, and be very clear about it and live inside of that each and every day. We need to detect what our fuel source is. What is it that drives us to be more every day? What thing happened or what's inside of you that drives you to be more than you are right now at this very moment? Then we need to develop strong feelings. We need to be able to be passionate about things. We need to be able to not always be a people pleaser. I'm not saying you have to get out there and become a jerk. What I'm saying is you have to be passionate and be committed and be 100% responsible for your own success. And so part of that is just being passionate and having strong feelings. You can still be a very nice and kind person. I would argue that I'm a pretty nice and kind person, but I have passions that I have developed, these feelings that I am very passionate about that I will go to bat for, right? And then last but not least here, we need to confirm successes for you. And the only way we can confirm that success is for you, the only way that you can say, yes, I deserve to have these things is by taking action. We have to take daily action. We have to pay that rent every day, right? And so those are the five items that we've got for you here today. Let's see what else we got. And Eric says parsing tasks like that is important. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate you sharing that. So that's what I have for you guys today. I really appreciate you tuning in. Hopefully this was helpful and useful for you. Hopefully you were able to take something out of this. Please go back and watch it and check it out again. Ask those questions, develop your own questions, develop those action items, and then make sure that you are sharing with us what you're going to be working on, because if you'll do that, you'll get help, right? When we put things out into the universe, guess what? You're going to attract things that might be very helpful for you. So facebook.com/Our Success Group Pro is where you can post the goal that you want to achieve, and maybe some ideas for some actions you're going to be taking to do that. So what is that action that you're going to take daily and make that thing public? All right. So if you guys don't have anything else, we're going to call it a day. And I appreciate you tuning in. Again, tune in next week when we talk about learning to say no. Hopefully we'll have that LinkedIn issue ironed out by then. So appreciate that. And Eric says, great reminder on action, sir. I can fill that rent due date, right? It's today. Guess what? It's today. Do something today. And then one more time on that. I know I said we were kind of signing off, but Eric brings up a great point here. Is he's saying that rent due date, he can feel it. But we don't want that feeling to become an overwhelming feeling, because the reality is small daily actions are really what's going to get you there. If we think that we can just go and make these massive jumps each and every day, it's just not possible, right? We think that there's this overnight success, but it's just not true. There's nobody out there that is successful that became an overnight success. We never see the 10,000 hours that they put in before they got there, right? We don't see all that. We hear a little bit about some stories about that, but the reality is that the daily slog, the daily grind that they went through, the daily actions they took to get to that point, we'll never know the reality of that. We only see the good side of it. So just pay that rent by taking a daily action. And then Brian, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you tuning in. And I'm glad that's a great start to your day. Hopefully it's been a while since we've caught up, Brian. So I'd love to catch up with you soon. All right. All right. Excellent. You're very welcome, Eric. All right, you folks, I appreciate it. Again, tune in next week for learning to say no. I'm working on that myself. So let's all work on it together. There you go. It's kind of like eating an elephant, Chuck. Absolutely. One bite at a time, or the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. There you go. Awesome. I love it, you guys. Appreciate the feedback and joining me. And I can't wait to talk to you guys all next week when we talk about learning to say no. Have a good one.